Hi guys, welcome to the Birdhouse. We're going to have a little look at some of our invertebrates that we keep here. We've not got this at college, sadly. This is a praying mantis. This particular species is a Rhodromantis centralis. I'm just trying to zoom in. Oh, that's better, a little bit clearer on it now. So they're a fantastic little predator. Now I'm just going to see if she will have this cricket. You can see the head. Oh, beautiful threat display there. As you can see, the arms are open and she's taken the cricket. Absolutely super little predator. I'm going to put my hand next to her just a little bit so you can see alongside, that's my thumb, you can see she's a fair sized creature. I'm going to try and tilt the, well, that's it, she's eating. And you can see the mandible there as she's nibbling the prey alive. They're quite a gruesome creature. On these wonderful forelegs, they've got lots of spikes, which are like a gin trap, which they hold their prey still with. They can even catch animals up to the size of hummingbirds, some of the bigger, heavier weight species. We can get praying mantids in Europe, not in the UK, but certainly sort of Greece, I've seen them, and they're found in all sorts of areas. This particular one is from Africa, and they do come in different colours, and it's just a look of the draw what you get. You know that I like anything green, which is why I chose this particular one. I'm hoping she's a female, although sadly we've not got a male to breed from her, which is a shame, but maybe we'll get one, we're not sure. She's recently matured. They take around about a year to 18 months to mature from a little tiny nymph, and then they grow into this wonderful creature that we see now. Quite unusual to most invertebrates. As you could see at the start of the video, they can actually move their head. Most insects don't move their head, it's sort of fixed in one position facing forwards. This beautiful girl here, as you can see, as soon as I went in, you saw the head turn to see what I was going to do, and now she's eating the food. As you can see, the poor old cricket is still alive. The visual acuity is based on movement, so just like your T-Rex from Jurassic Park, so unless something moves they don't really see it, which is why we have to give them live food. They do take things quite a lot bigger themselves. Obviously we've mentioned hummingbirds and things like that, but you can see typical insect, the 6 legs, 3 body parts, but these forearms are quite wonderfully modified. They can draw blood, particularly the bigger ones. She's a fair size mantis, you can get some really much bigger ones, and they can draw blood with their forearms, which the front tip of the forearm is like a little claw, so that can sort of grab you and scratch. And also when they nibble, if they start nibbling your fingers, move them away, because they will nibble like she's doing now, and they can draw blood. But a fantastic little creature. You have to keep them solitary, as we know they're renowned for eating their mate. Oh, she just looked straight at me then. She's like saying, do you mind, I'm having my lunch. But they are fantastic. They're very cool. I've seen them before. It's not for the faint-hearted. They're not very gentle. We've had a little look at spiders when they mate and how they caught the female, don't they? And they approach very carefully and they stroke her. These don't. They sort of get wind of the pheromones of the female and he just goes for it. Flies down quite roughly on the back, and then mates with her. But she will eat him if she gets the chance. Particularly, you'll sometimes see them with their heads missing. The female will eat the head, and the poor little male is still busy mating away with her while she's eating. Right, we will leave her in peace, and we'll get you a different animal. So our next animal is a giant spiny stick insect from Papua New Guinea. I've just donated some of these to the unit, so you will hopefully have a little be able to have a look at a look at these and when you get back after this horrid coronavirus. What I'm going to show in my fingers now is a little egg of this particular species. So it is very, very small, and these come out as a nymph and they grow to this quite big size. We know that he's a male because of the shape of his abdomen. Here it's quite blunt. Have you as a girl, he will have a very pointed bottom. This little projection is called an ovipositor, and it's where the female will inject the eggs into the substrate to hatch. Now the eggs take quite a few months to hatch. Some stick insects it's nearly a year, and we've got quite a few here at our house that we're trying to incubate. Now this particular one, if I lift his little leg there, you can see that big spine. That's used for defence. They can squirt out quite a foul smelling liquid, but this little, like a giant rose thorn there on his thigh, that's what does the damage. Again, if they kick you, they can draw blood, which is why I'm using some Spencer Wells forceps. So if I did annoy him a little bit, he will kick. I was just going to move out of the way. But again, stunning creature. They're one of my favourite species. They're very big and impressive. If you do have more than one male, they might fight, so you have to be a little bit careful. But they will, once they've mated, they can produce lots and lots and lots of eggs. Great look at that spur there. So there's a spur on each side of the back leg of their sort of femur sort of type, and that does give a very nasty kick. You can also see the little hooks on the legs here, how he's securing himself onto the backing of this photo tent. He doesn't want to fall. They're normally this dark chocolate colour. They can be green or a beigey colour when they're nymphs, and again when they start growing they go into life stage 4, 5, 6 or 5th or 6th instar. They start to get the size and the bulk. They eat predominantly vegetation, so they quite like bramble, oak, raspberry, pretty much of what we've got in the garden here. Obviously you have to be careful that there's no pesticides or anything. We don't use pesticides or any chemicals on any plants in the garden or in the house here at the birdhouse, so it's all safe for these little creatures to consume without getting poisoned. But they are very susceptible to chemicals, so we have to be really careful. So bearing in mind, if you are collecting bramble and stuff, look at where it's growing. Might it have weed killer on it? Might it be somewhere where there's lots of exhaust fumes and things like that? And if in doubt, give it a little wash. So we're back again with this little chap who is a giant forest scorpion from Asia. So not a great deal of venom in it, but it would quite hurt me, might cause me breathing problems if I was unlucky enough to be stung. I've put on the black background just for now, just to give you a little look of what it's like. They're quite nocturnal, so they're quite difficult to see when they're out in the wild. So if I change my light from this normal light to a black light, you will see it is completely different. So it has this fluorescent glow. So no one's actually sure. It's still under debate what this adaptation, why it's used for, because we're not completely sure. Because scorpions' eyesights are not brilliant. So whether they can see differently than we can, maybe, I'm not sure. But they're very easy for us to find in the wild. Now I'm going to put him on a white background just so you can see him a little bit better. So he's on the white background now, so a little easier to spot. So if I just move the camera a little bit, and focus in on him. So with scorpions, the rule of thumb is if it's got big claws like this one has, the sting is normally not too bad. So the sting is here on its tail. It's got little mouth parts as well. But, oh, he's made a bid for freedom. So when handling, we're using a good old set of Spencer Wells forceps. And we're grabbing it behind the sting and we're plonking him down like so. So again, it's an arachnid because it's just got the two body parts, 8 limbs, and these beautiful pedipalps that going into his claws so we can see really, really well. Not sure about this one. It's quite a chubby creature. We'll offer it a little insect. I don't think for a minute it will eat because it's no. I've annoyed it because it's been coming to camera, so he's not very happy at the minute, are you? So we've got a forward view of it. Lovely little display. Again, if I just touch him with the Spencer Wells, he gets quite annoyed and defensive with me. So again, we're quite glad that these don't grow to an enormous size, otherwise we as a human race would be in big trouble. But yeah, we like them a lot. Some scorpions can live communally, particularly emperors, but they've gone quite rare now. We've sort of over collected for the pet trade, and now these animals are registered on the CITES list. So very, very difficult to get hold of, hence why we have the giant Asians. Right, another great little predator. This is a juvenile, so it's quite a young, it's called a spiderling, it's a youngster. It's a species called Lasiodora parahabana, or a salmon pink bird eater. Once it's grown, this will be the 3rd biggest species in the world, so next to Goliath. So we're talking at nearly a leg span of a dinner plate. So just because it shows up better, I'm going to try and put a waxworm in with it. And oh yes, it's quite hungry. So it's bitten that, and it will let the venom take its course. Oh no, he doesn't want it. I'm thinking this one's going to be male. Surely, with my guts, it's a gut feeling it's a male. It's growing. It's shedding its skin quite frequently, and it's looking quite leggy. Now, tarantulas have this wonderful thing where the males will mature faster than the females, so that diminishes any chance of interbreeding. So where this little chap will take probably 18 months to 2 years to mature, any sisters that he has would take around about another 5 years to get to sexual maturity. So by that time he'll have popped his clogs, so they would never meet to breed. So it was really good. You can just see, I don't know if you can just see it. Good old Spencer Wells. If I just touch there, there's his old skin. So he's recently molted. If I just take that out without annoying him too much. So yeah, there is his old skin, and you can see that he's molted out of that. Now, if we get a good microscope, we can have a little look on this and see at what sex he is. So it's quite difficult to sort of see that he's come out of that. But a very nice little species, very showy, very big and heavy species. Need it quite toasty. So with most insects, we warm them with a heater mat rather than a heater lamp, because they're not an animal that will bask in the sunshine like lizards and stuff do. They like a nice warming, gentle heat. So we normally have a heat pad, so it gives them a very, it's not so fierce. Also, it needs a hot end and a cold end, just like your lizards and stuff. and a little spray depending again where they come from. Some, like the chili rose we have at college, Agnes and Astrid, they're living semi-deserts, so they need quite a low percentage of humidity. This guy's a bit more rainforesty, so needs slightly more humid. And then your pink toes, which are a beautiful creature. They literally do have pink toes on the end of their feet. They're an arboreal spider, normally very colourful and have this iridescent sheen to their coat. And they live in the trees. And they're quite funky because when they're babies, they're a pink spider with black toes. And when they grow up, they're a black spider with pink toes. So it's a little bit of the other way round. Right, we'll leave this little guy to enjoy his meal. He's not that bothered, to be fair. Just like snakes and lizards, when they're due to molt, they tend to not eat their food. They go off their food a little bit. So he's recently molted, so he just might not be hungry just now. We're going to get the next one. Right, this little beggar is not playing the game at all. This is our youngest baby. It's a baby red-kneed tarantula, so it will grow to a fair size. And you can see it's next to a 2p coin. This spiderling is about the same age as the salmon pink that we saw a little while ago, but you can see it's a lot slower growing. This has only molted about once since I've had it, so maybe this is a girl, we're not quite sure. When they get a little bit bigger, we can take the shed skin under the microscope and we can have a look for the sex organs to determine the sex of them. Oh, that's a bit better. So you can see she's not even got the leg span of a 2p piece at the minute. But when she does grow, she will look a little bit like this. So here's the adult version. This is an adult female red-kneed tarantula. Normally they're quite a docile species. This one isn't. I've just been unlucky. It's a really bad hair flicker. They're not been known to bite very often. The spiders that tend to bite you normally have baboon in the name. Some baboon spiders are great looking animals, but they're quite feisty. And most baboon spiders come from Africa. Again, this is another South American one that lives in the Amazon. You normally see these on your films like Indiana Jones and stuff because they normally are, just like Agnes at work, they're normally really placid. This one just hasn't been handled. Bought her, don't really know how old she is. Absolutely stunning specimen, lovely hair on her. You can see on the substrate the little isopods and stuff. All my vivs here at home are bioactive, so they've got their own little cleanup crew in there. They eat all the old food that she leaves, and any poo and stuff like that, any drop-ins, they pick up as well. So you can see on our lovely spider here, you can see the two little glossy things there. They're her eyes, the little beady eyes there. There is normally 8. And they're very close together. Again, not like the scorpion, they've not got great eyesight, so they can't recognise my face when I go in to see her. But they're a lovely creature, particularly when they're freshly molted. I'm hoping this one will molt before long. There's no signs of molting. If she was going to molt, she would have a bald bottom, and when the bald bottom goes black, it's an imminent sign that we're going to molt. She'll spin a little web. So they're not like the spiders we have in this country where they spin a web and catch their prey. These guys are more of an ambush predator. So at a risk of getting a face full of hair, we're going to have a little closer look at her abdomen, which is where these urticating hairs are. If we can zoom in a little closer. You can see there, you can see the longer hairs, the light colour hair, they're the urticating ones. They're the ones she will flick if she's annoyed, and that each hair has got a little barb on, and they itch like boogery. I get very itchy. I'm being quite careful now because I'm quite close, obviously taking the footage, and if I get them in my eyes, I've got some glasses on today to protect my eyes. They can cause quite nasty eye problems. So right on the back end here are the little spinnerets. That's what we use for spinning her web. And again, she might use a web to molt on. They quite like a little mattress to molt their shed skin on. Again, might go off their food. So if you do think they're going into pre-molt, take all the food out, because they're very vulnerable when they shed their skin. They're very soft and they can get eaten by their prey items. So it's one to be quite careful of.